Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen. I misspoke in an earlier video. This is not a 491, this is a 492. So anyways, we have the new and yet to be improved Thunderkitten. I went from it being an Echo 4910 to a Shindaiwa 492. I just like the red better. That's about it. That and the name, I like the name Shindaiwa. You know, Echo to me is just Echo, but Shindaiwa, that totally says Shindaiwa, like Japanese. So anyways, we're gonna do some cuts. I got a great big knotty section here, so we're definitely gonna get to the back part so that we have good consistent for timed cuts. But I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up, do a few cuts, and then I'll go back inside and I'll switch out the carburetor for a carburetor that I've already modded up. Tune should be good to go, but in case it's not, I have my my tack and my screwdriver right here with me. Let's fire it up. As it is, even though it's a different saw, it's all the same components that made it fast that Charles Brisco did. That's too lean. It's running good. We're all set up. This will be my timed cut. Now I'm just going to go back in. We're going to swap out that carburetor, come right back out to it, and see if the carburetor modification made any difference. Okay, so let's have a quick look at these carburetors. This right here is the carburetor I just removed. You notice that screw on top and it's sticking out the bottom. Same thing over here. This is your actual throttle side. The other side was your choke. Oh, come on, open up. Hard to do with just one hand. There we go. Alright, so this is stock carburetor, nothing done to it besides the limiters were removed. Now over here, this is what's going on. This is your choke side, smoothed out, thinned out, everything. This is your actual throttle side, same thing there. But I also bored out the carburetor. You can't really see it, you know, but I did. Now, in order to bore out the carburetor, you have to remove everything. All the throttle linkages that are going through, and you got to remove that high jet as well. That jet right down there that my thumb's at. You got to remove that. And the way that I bored it out, y'all are going to think I'm crazy. That right there. I literally hooked this up to my rotary tool, and I put it in there, and I went zzz, 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 and I took it out and I measured. Zzz, 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 took it out and I measured. Zzz, 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 took it out and I measured. Over and over and over again. And so this carb has been bored out in that fashion, right? With that, what do you even call that? Sanding cones. I don't know what it's actually properly called. But anyways, I bored it out using that method, 30 thousandths of an inch. This is my very first time boring out a carb, period, and it's definitely my first time using that method, and I don't know that that would be like a chosen method for the highbrow crowd. I don't know. We're going to see if it works. So we're gaining total flow area by having smoothed out the shafts and the screws, the head and the other end that sticks out. So we gained volume of our carburetor there with that alone. But I also gave it 30 thousandths of an inch overbore as well. So I'm going to put it on, and we're going to go right back there to the wood. There'll be some tuning, I'm certain, surely, even though I'll set it exactly where the other carb is. You know, I'll go ahead and count the turns and set this new carb exactly to that. And we'll see what we have to do. If heck, we might have to lean it out. I don't know. Common sense says that you got to give it more fuel, but it doesn't always work that way. All right, here we are. I'm back. So we'll have to pump fuel through the carb and everything, so it'll take a few pulls to get it to fire up, I believe. And then we will have to test it, do some cuts. I'll use that knot section right there. I don't want to use this to try and get it, you know, tuned. I think that's clearly too lean on the low side. I'm going to put it in this. Honestly, it feels a little slower. I just leaned it up and no, it doesn't want it. give it some more fuel. That's about as good as it's gonna get. Tuned to 14.4. So it's pulling right at 12,000 in the cut. I don't know if it made a difference. Honestly, it feels like it made it worse. You know, it really does. I don't know. It still feels super strong. It's a super good runner. I don't know if it's faster though. I don't know. The good thing, so the reason I went ahead and tried it out on this saw, running nice and cool by the way, running really good, stellar. The reason why I wanted to try out that carb bore on this saw is because I looked up a carburetor for one of these things. It's only like 25, 30 bucks for an actual OEM carburetor, maybe 35, I can't remember exactly, but I do remember I went, damn, that's cheap. So if there's anything to mess around with, it's one of these. So we'll go to the video and see which one outperforms the other, or if there's any noticeable change whatsoever. As it is though, even if it is a little bit faster, I don't know. Now that it's dialed in, the carburetor is probably fine. And as I use it, it'll get dialed in more and more. I'll take a little 1/16 of a turn here and there. But let's see about the restart. So. Still seems to run perfect. So yeah, I guess if it did make a difference, it probably would be worthwhile to do, because it's still running great, you know. But I had to go in on the low side because it was getting too much fuel at idle, and then I had to go way in, like a turn and a quarter probably. I also had to mess with the actual idle screw itself, just a hair, you know, like 1/16 of a turn on that maybe. And then on the high side, I had to come way out. Before it was at 2 3/4 of a turn out. Now it's probably at 4 turns out. So I had to come way out on the high side. So anyways, but that's it. And I'm eager to see if it actually made a difference. Okay, so what's the verdict? The verdict is, yeah, it made a difference. It made the saw faster, but just a little bit, and it did make it. I can't help it. I want to say it made it finicky to tune, but honestly, it didn't. It tuned in. It was way off the mark from where it was with the stock carb. So once I got it tuned in and everything, it consistently was cutting at 6 seconds and 10 frames. All right, so that works out to like, there's 30 frames in a second, so it works out to like 6.3 seconds roughly, you know, 6.25, something like that. And then before, it was at 6 seconds and 20 frames, which is a lot closer to 7 full seconds. So, you know, whatever. You see it's a little bit faster, but less than a second. So this is something that, you know, honestly, we all like to get as much as we can. You know, we do. I think we do anyways, but unless you're looking to win a race, I think it's kind of useless. What is that, half a second? It's about half a second faster with that carburetor modification. And I think it may have, I don't know. I want to say stuff, but I think it's all bullshit. So it was faster, which means it probably produces more torque and more RPMs, you know. But before it kind of felt like it was faster before. So I am drawn to the idea of, I felt like I had more torque, but it couldn't have. That's bullshit. It's faster now. It's more torquey now. Everything. So, anyways, all of this is pointless. All this like chatter back and forth, because it's like, yeah, it made it faster. So the saw's more powerful. Anywho, do I think it's worth doing? Nah, not unless you are building a saw to compete with, and that half second can make you win a prize. You know what I mean? Otherwise, yeah, just leave your carburetor on these things alone. You know, they run so damn good. And I got to give credit to that A2 Designs air filter system. If you want to look at it, look it up. The website, just type in A2 Designs Echo Chainsaw, and you will find the web page of the guy that makes that filter setup for these saws. It's straight up, as soon as I put it on to the Thunderkitten, it made a very clear difference in power, and the Thunderkitten is now running the best that it has ever ran. And also should mention that, you know, that's the very first cuts that this Shindaiwa has ever made. Now it's got a broken in piston and cylinder on it that Charlie Brisco ported. However, the bottom end is completely fresh. And whenever we're, you know, splitting hairs of a half a second, right? That makes a difference. That bottom end is tight. It's tight. And a buddy of mine, Matt, he said loose saws are fast saws, or fast saws are loose saws. So a little bit of, you know, to break in that bottom end, it only takes about a tank. It doesn't take much, and They just get a little bit looser, just a smidge looser, and they do run a little bit better. And in a situation like this, where it's only a half a second difference, yeah, that it's going to get faster. It's going to get a 1/10 of a second faster whenever that bottom end breaks in, maybe 2/10 of a second faster. And shit like that matters, because like this, with that carburetor mod, I was so close to 6 seconds, all right? But I never broke into the 5-second range. Well, after a tank of fuel or so, that same saw would probably be able to cut in the high 5s. You know, it splitting hairs. The difference between a broken in bottom end and a not broken in bottom end is like fine as frog's hair. But it is a difference. Not enough for you to worry about if you just got a work saw. But if you're in a race, that shit piles up. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm very glad to finally have the Thunderkitten transferred over to a Shindaiwa, because it's just cooler to me, you know. And I don't know if I'll get started on it this week. I might, but next up for another raffle saw, or as I call them, waffle saw, will be the Echo 4910 with all those new parts of the Shindaiwa, and we'll see if we can get it to run pretty good too. And you guys, I mean, I've built like 5 or 6 of them in the past. They all run great. So are they going to be as fast as this one? Maybe, maybe not, but you're still holding a 5 to 5.5 horsepower saw in your hand that weighs like 11 pounds, and it's pretty damn fun to use. All right, take it easy, guys.